Okay, so we established the facts that it's probably the empire creating propaganda just so we kill opiate users and we hate them. It's socially acceptable to call people junkies and, make fun of junkies. But apparently, in reality, all the people we worship use these opiates, which is another common theme we see. You notice in the 80s, cocaine was associated with rich people. It's like they still do call it the rich man's caffeine. And to be honest, I haven't tried it yet. I'll let you know when I do, right? I figure with the way my heart acts, I should probably not touch more uppers because I was fed a lot of them. It's possible I am the way I am partly. I was born this way, but because they also fed me amphetamines as a child. So I'm sure that only helped advance me further, and a lot of people claim it might have something to do with the heart. And so, hey, that brings us to another topic, though. They have the war on amphetamines as well, kind of went around. That's what I remember from like late 80s, early 90s. Everyone said it was cocaine, and it probably was because they made a bunch of movies about it. But I don't remember that. They have that, and it's all the same thing. They're just like substances on the earth that have been provided for us that they want to maintain and artificially inflate the value of in order to make it worth something when it's not. Much as they do with these gems and precious metals, which it's weird because they price something as precious metal and we just see it as a useless trinket you put around your neck, but it's really part of alien technology that builds circuit boards and stuff like that. So, it's not just even, but they will tell you it's just a scam to get you to buy useless junk in the past. So they almost surely knew the use of it to end up calling it precious metals. But they control those markets as well. They control the dollar market. They control most of the markets. So the drug market is just it's a huge Wall Street, basically, for them. It brings them, except for Wall Street, well, I guess the drug market requires some workers too, but like the military. But the drug market probably brings in more with less effort, so probably not as much. In fact, they've talked of this before, right? When they smuggle money just because they smuggle it, for the same reason everyone gets involved in this stuff is just to make some quick bucks. And that's what they do, is they artificially inflate the prices of this natural stuff to enslave the species. The different species will fall prey to different methods, and they use whichever method is the most acceptable in the land. And it's almost like there must be something about like taking away the opium from those people. I bet you, because like I say, everything's done for like 7 reasons. So you have probably something hidden in there why they want to steal the drugs from these people. Kind of like they steal marijuana from black people, and then they say blacks were savages in America, and it's like, well, that's weird because in Africa they could just smoke marijuana and lay around in their natural state, apparently. So maybe that would do something. They say it also lowers their blood pressure, and they have higher blood pressure naturally, so they might just, like when I earlier discussed the world and how it's created, like maybe after living in a condition so long, you require that condition to sustain yourself. That's, or possibly the reverse could happen, all sorts of stuff. I mean, watching plants grow, like, anything can happen. So the humans just seem to be a reflection of the environment. Like, you can look at the environment and you can see single traits you'll find in humans. It's like the dictionary of human of what the human is, kind of. You can, if you studied all the animals and stuff, you would probably know more about the humans than anyone who studies humans, because you would see that the animals each have traits that we take on and stuff. Like, we seem to be possibly more complex, but at the same time, they're kind of like not simple either. So, I think possibly it could be used to shut down the natural fruits that a population thrives upon, and it is. So, but I'm saying internally, it might be something related to their biochemistry being used to be around this. It's a natural plant in their habitat. Maybe taking it away from them does something to it eventually. Now, taking away a drug might actually help the population, but if it's always using it, but it's really not up to them, right? It's like a different place with different stuff going on. I think that's like kind of for a reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, and they have their TV show set up where they artificially populated things, but I don't think I'm right. I mean, if any of their maps and news is real, which it's not, I mean, who knows if any of that stuff's really happening on TV. But according to science called on TV, you know, the equator is a warmer place, so, or maybe the South Tropics are a warmer place, or yada, yada, yada. So different conditions would exist, and you can tell by looking at anything you grow, different conditions will affect it differently. And so I would think that they're stealing like some sort of natural fruit from the earth when they do wage these wars. So there's, like I said, there's never just one reason for the war. That you can't fight for the oil, because it takes way more oil to wage the war than you gain from the war. You can't fight for gold, because that gold and that oil pays for probably 2/3 of the war. You can't fight a gold for secondary resources, because those three combined probably pay for the war. And you're at a loss. So now you need to find other reasons. Land, slavery, stealing of fruits and foods. So like some would consider marijuana a fruit. And then I'll discover more. I'm sure I will, because I kind of just discovered that. So it's kind of like a fuel. Like let's say if people grew up around like something like that, probably calms them and makes them be able to like think deeply. And supposedly they're credited with math and all this stuff, so it could be exactly attributed to that. Your position to think differently will probably highly be affected by what's natural to your environment. Like in my environment here in America, and school environment, when we get put on meth, they want us to be smarter. I hear in China they put you on like math, speed, PCP, you know, like not really, but like I heard they do a lot of stuff. Like our soldiers are obviously on HGH. I don't buy that that's just steroids. That the soldiers should never look like our soldiers, never in the past. Our grandparents in the war did not look at their pictures. They do not look like these soldiers today. That's probably human growth hormone, and it's probably high quality HGH as well, so it's probably really effective. And I went out, and they're always using like experimental chemicals on them. That's where the Captain America story comes from. It's like pretty much real. That's why they're so big. In the story Captain America, they wrote it so long ago, no soldiers were big, so they didn't make some superhuman looking guy who is big. Even in the movies, they can't do that, because the bigger guys are on special substances generally. And HGH expands you permanently, and those soldiers are huge. They don't talk about that stuff. That's like part of the code. But it goes on. I'm sure it does. That's That's where the stories come from. But anyways, that's another one of the drugs as well. Interesting there. The human growth hormones and steroids. It's acceptable, like caffeine, and which we already had the war for caffeine, the tea wars, and then we had wars over ending taxes over tea, so they couldn't possibly ever attack caffeine again. They just sell it for a lot of money, like $6 a cup at Starbucks. Donate to Israel today. Buy some Starbucks. So all these drugs have their own war that can be explained further. It's just currently it's the opium war that's at the front that they use to make the most money. Apparently, probably everyone's using some of this stuff. I wouldn't doubt it. Okay. It's basically, you got to end the war against these opiate users. They're like robbing them. Like, of course, they're homeless and stuff because they're paying like thousands of dollars for like a little, like, couple pills and stuff. Like a handful of pills. Like, diabetics must be fucking poor too. Look how much they charge for diabetic medication. They charge that stuff for everything. And apparently it works for pain. But I think all these things are supposed to be legal and natural because they're natural, because the gods have provided them on the earth. And for the humans to use, he wouldn't have. It even says in the Bible, the herbs are for the man's use. So, pretty much, and like people say that copied off something else and everything else copies off it. It's like, well, it's the same thing then. And it's clear. I mean, it's a clear pattern you can see if you're not busy with technology all day, watching the news. You can eventually look at nature and you see the pattern. And it speaks to you and tells you, what's going on, basically. You can start asking. It doesn't necessarily answer you, though. Maybe if you visit the symbiote, he will answer questions. Or maybe he will not like you at all. So, end a war on the opiate users and everyone else. Even alcoholics are paying too much. They're getting charged this crazy tax. Like I said at the beginning of the video, 70% tax. Like almost everything you're buying has all these taxes hidden in it. Inflation tax, war taxes, empire taxes. It's what it all boils down to. And it's a scheme where they have built these systems so you buy into it. It's like a deep scheme. It almost costs as much to run it as they make from it because it's a large scale theft industry. It's like the whole foundations of the society are pretty shaky when they're built. It's basically just people at the top wanting to build fancy places for themselves, and that just happens to build up fancy places around them. And they move to the next fancy place and someone takes that one over. But at the same time, the empire dies out like this because it's like designed to shed its skin. It rots and then it has to move on. It's never saved itself in the past. That's never really been anything it's been trying to do. They just want you to hate these people, just like they want everyone to hate everyone for everything, so they can get a 10%, 50,000, 20,000% tax going on, where they jump up the price of something crazy. And they have to have lots of those schemes going on at once to help make some of those empire taxes, because it costs to keep the empire running. And it costs to deceive everyone and kidnap people who disagree with them. There's a lot of other stuff going on that they don't tell you about. But that's another video. But they want you to hate these people, and you've got to end that war on them. It's like they're fully in control of the meth war, because they're the ones selling the meth to us and forcing the meth down us. Anyways, I'm going to end this. Have a good one.